My name is Doug Krull. I'm a professor in the Department of Psychological Science at Northern Kentucky University, and I'm going to talk to you about p-values and statistical significance. Suppose I pull a coin out of my pocket and I think, I want to test to see if this is a fair coin. It could be that this coin is biased. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip it 10 times, and I'm going to keep track of the number of heads and tails. Now, if it is fair, it should come up 5 heads, 5 tails. So let's suppose I do that. And I keep track, and I discover that it comes up heads 6 times and tails 4 times. So I conclude, obviously, the coin is biased. Would you agree with that? I imagine you tell me that, no, that doesn't mean that the coin is biased. It was just a fluke. It was just happened by chance that it came up heads more times than it came up tails. If you flipped it 10 more times, it might come up tails more this time around. Similarly, there's always the chance that psychological findings could just be due to chance. Maybe we do a study to look at the relationship between hours spent studying and grades, and we find a positive correlation. People who studied more tended to get better grades. Always the possibility that that could be due to chance. Or maybe we're interested in violent media and aggression. So we do an experiment where some people see a violent film clip, others see a non-violent film clip, and we measure aggressiveness, and we find that people who saw the violent film were more aggressive. Always the possibility that that finding could be due to chance. Now, we can't know for certain whether a finding is due to chance, but we can calculate the probability of chance, the p-value, probability value, and then we can make a judgment about whether the probability of chance is low enough that we're willing to accept the finding as genuine. Now, the psychological community has decided that, in general, if the p-value, the probability of chance, is less than 5%, we're willing to accept the finding as real. Usually, though, it's expressed as a decimal, so we say that the p-value has to be less than 0.05. And so if you hang around researchers very much, you might hear them say something like, all right, p-value of 0.027. 0.027 is less than 0.05, and so the person's colleagues will probably accept that as a real finding. Perhaps that person can publish the finding in a journal or something like that. Now, you'll notice that that's a fairly strict criterion. Suppose I do a study and I calculate the p-value and it comes up to be 0.14. That means the probability of chance is 14%. There's an 86% chance that it wasn't due to chance, that it's genuine, that it's real. And yet the psychological community will still not accept that. The reason we adopt a strict criterion is because we want to be really careful to not accept chance findings as genuine. Because once, for example, a finding is published in a journal, then people begin to count on it and to make decisions based upon that. Imagine, for example, a medical doctor reading something in a medical journal about a new drug and deciding to prescribe that drug to someone based upon what the article says. So in the same way in psychology, we want to be really careful to not accept chance findings as genuine. Now, if the p-value, the probability value, is less than 5%, we say that the finding is significant or statistically significant. You might notice that we're using the word significant there in kind of an unusual way. Normally, in everyday language, when we say significant, we mean important. Like we might say, the Revolutionary War was a significant event in the history of our country. It was an important event. But when we speak of statistical significance, we don't mean important. We just mean that it's genuine, that it's real, that it's not a fluke, it's not due to chance. It could be that the finding is statistically significant, but maybe it's so small that it really makes hardly any difference at all in real life. Or maybe it's statistically significant, but it just isn't very interesting. And so if the p-value, the probability value, is less than 5%, then we accept it as a statistically significant finding. Whether it's important, that's a judgment call.